Man, tell you what's going wrong in my house.
I'm telling you, I think that if everybody just watches The Big Lebowski, everything will be okay and becomes the dude.
I try.
Yeah,
I mean, I got
just
rugs and everything.
just abide, man.
Yeah.
Oh wow, I'm streaming. Okay, g'day, welcome. This is the Art of Rock. It's Saturday morning, apparently. Oh my God, go away. I fucking hate technology. Technology was invented by John Technology, but you didn't know that. This is the Art of Rock. First and foremost, I want to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional land owners of Los Angeles, California. Um, This is the Art of Rock. Every Saturday, we're here on Angelspit's Twitch and Angelspit's Facebook. And if you're wondering what the hell this is all about, we are too. We've done over 300 streams or something. I don't know. But no, maybe 100. We're helping you make your art. And we're talking about production, composition, overcoming writer's block, and all that really fun stuff on Angelspit's Twitch. Go like the Twitch, Adam. It's always good to see your face. Hey, you've got a big stream coming up. Was it yesterday? And there's Angelspit's YouTube. Watch it there. Something, something, something words that make me look smart. Good luck on that. Angelspit's Patreon. This is brought to you by Angelspit's Patreon. Join or not. You can join for free or give me $3 a month. I'd really appreciate the $3. But maybe you need the $3 more than I do, so it's okay. May May's new album is kickstarting now. I am so proud to be part of this. Go back it. Unfortunately, Patreon members, normally everything I do, you get a copy of it. Not so much on this one because this is May May's gig. Please go support May May. It's a really, really good album. I'm very proud of the work we've done. That May May creature is a delightful fucking songwriter. Angelspit's new album is me screaming about things, banging things, and getting all offensive because that's what I do. The Industrial Incisions playlist is a place. Super Tablespoons, welcome, is a place you have to go and listen to some fucking new music, and you bastards have to send me your new goddamn tracks, and you got to email it to me for fuck's sake. What's your potty mouth, Carl? Don't tell me what to do. Vulture Culture. Everyone gave you a look just then. Wednesday nights, we talk about synthesizers with the one called The Culture of Vulture. Alex, I'm wearing the Scum shirt. Oh, yeah. So follow it. It's such a great community, and we're going to learn so much about music and fucking synthesizers and shit. This is Angel Spit's Discord. I don't know if this link does anything. Jen, welcome. How's England? Yeah, know what I mean? Jen's in England now. Um, I'll stop doing that right now. And after this, we're gonna bang on over to MTV TV, and it's amazing. Alice, it's good to see your face. Always watch MTV TV if you're bored and you want something to listen to in the background because you're gonna find your new favorite band, and it's bloody awesome. If you want to do something about this fantastic country and the fantastic democracy and all that stuff, join Indivisible. They will help you out. And another place to check out is that reminds me of something very funny, but we'll say that off camera. The Alt US National Park Service that are doing some fantastic things to keep this country fucking amazing because it is. As an Australian, it hurts me to say that, but it is, god damn it. This democracy is worth fighting for. It's like a house. Every 4 years, you might change the bathroom or you might change the water heater. But onward every day, you got to maintenance a bit, clean stuff. It's like calling your senators and going on a protest. That's all a part of keeping a democracy going. Kids, it's no big deal. Come on. Resi, thanks for joining us.
May you receive $3 Patreon for fixing all of your failing household systems.
Thank you very much. And guys, everything's going to be okay, I'm going to tell you. Even though the coffee I had this morning was strong, as you can tell, but we're going to get through this. Okay, boom. And Tablespoon, it ain't just forestry. Oh, and there's an ongoing GoFundMe for Drake's family. We tragically lost Drake, about a month ago. So there's Drake's music in the GoFundMe, so we got to look after his family. Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is this is Ivan's idea about the new Roland drum machine. So we can talk about the Roland drum machine, then we can just go and talk. So Ivan,
All right, here's my opportunity to get all marketing and and gear hoary and Cassie. Roland released was it the RD 1000, oh TR 1000, and like it is crazy. It's like crazy awesome. I mean, they actually went and like reanalogued the 808 and 909 circuits to bring them into this machine. So you get the like pure analog versions of those instead of, just playback. If you want playback though, like they've got, ACB models, they've got FM percussion models, they've got a whole PCM sample library. You can import your own samples. It's like 14 channels and two of them are combinable. So, you could treat it as 12 channels, but you could have, a sound made by, two percussion hits at the same time, which I'm fairly certain is actually a fairly useful thing for a drum machine to do. And then, like the, the programming is all like, and I'm going to use the word standard, Roland drum machine programming, uh, perspectives. And, so it'll be fairly easy to use on top of all of that. And then it's got like just a crap ton of outputs, so you can, single channel any drum sound out to a mixer, from there. Oh, also it's got internal routing. So like, oh yeah, like one of my big hopes would be, you can route a sound through its own compressor instead of, a shared compressor for everything. Um, so it's got a lot of integration, and it can do internal side chaining. Yeah. And of course, it's the modern world, they built an app for it as well.
Okay, let's go. Resi, what do you think about this?
I don't know. Seems kind of cool. Whatever. You know. I just I'm glad they're doing circuit-based voices and drum machines. I mean, that's a great way to go. I'm all about that. But I'm not a drum machine person, I guess. Maybe there's drum machine people and not drum machine people. Maybe that's just how it works. Um, I'm kind of a recovered sampler for all my drums kind of person and into multi-sampled huge drum kits, which, hey, that's just the way the evolution went for me. I'll still go back to grabbing a sample. I'll still go back to VSTs or, plug in computer running emulated circuitry style drums to get like FM or TR style things. And, it's fun, but I didn't get excited about this new piece of hardware. I don't know why. Maybe it's the expense, and maybe it just comes down to if I can watch an Alex Ball video about the thing and focus more on how good his songs are and less on his excitement about the piece of gear or me getting excited about the piece of gear. It's kind of a litmus test. And I didn't get really stoked for it. And maybe it's one of the symptoms of there being so many modules over the years for your Eurorack and other modular systems. Maybe it's that one of the companies that's ripping them off so badly has really poisoned the well a little bit with super cheap modules that have been doing this. But there's an accumulation of things that just isn't getting me psyched for, oh, look what you can put on your desk. It's a drum machine. Like, ugh, I want to love it. Maybe there'll be more to it than I'm seeing, and somebody could certainly turn me around 180 on this one, but meh, it's cool,
You brought up some really, really interesting points here, man. Bro, what are you thinking?
I'm kind of curious. Do you know if it is bringing like any like unique new sounds or anything to the table? I mean, I did hear you mention like the 808s and whatnot, which are pretty common and pretty standard. You can get those of a bunch of different flavors, kind of anyway. I guess what I'm thinking is like, if I'm going to drop on that, am I going to gain some kind of new way of creating drum sounds? You know that? Do you
Well,
maybe you make
yeah, like I think the part of it is they've added a whole lot of controls to the sounds that like previous integrate versions of the 909 and 808 didn't have. So, like there, maybe there's that. Um, this is very much a new drum machine that is kind of pretty heavily focused on sound design. And so, between the analog parts and then all of the various ways that you can go, digital, um, there presents a chunk of opportunity, or like maybe changes the way you want to think about what's going on. Um, and like at the same time, like the one thing that I really wanted to see, in it would be, you know, like CV out.
It doesn't have CV out,
No,
but it's got to have, does it have trig out? But it's obviously got clock in and clock
it's
out.
definitely got clock in.
DIN sync?
Maybe.
Okay. But I stopped your flow. Keep talking.
Yeah. So I mean, like, there's part of me that really likes this new piece of kit because it's good, like, or at least decent. But there's also part of me that thinks, hey, I could put together enough Eurorack modules to exceed what's going on here, and have a lot more control over what's going on here. Um, Also, I mean, it is, $2,600 of spendy. At the same time, if I wanted to go build that in Eurorack, I would end up spending 5 grand.
This is really interesting. Thank you. Phoenix, what are your thoughts?
I've never really worked much with drum machines except for like drag drop with tracks and stuff. So it's an interesting, like all everything that everyone's talking about them. But I might actually explore it in the future with smaller drum machines because $2,600, that's like how much I make in a month. So yeah, that's kind of an oof. It's nice to hear all the different sounds and all the different things, and that they have like internal controls for uh for the sounds and whatnot. But yeah, it's not my thing.
Thank you. Rosie, I'll let you jump in.
My takeaway, I think, also from after hearing y'all's talk more about your feelings about it is that if you needed to pick one thing to sit on your desk, because having that grid with the LEDs and knowing what beat you're on is important, and that would be valuable to me, I guess is all I'm saying. Like, I get that. And also, maybe it was the Electron thing where they first did this, but the per step entire preset changing, like on every 16th note, all of your parameters change, but you can also parameter lock. Like, there's some things that the interface affords you that you don't think of doing in a DAW, really, or you might not. And Brett, that was sort of speaking to, does it have any unique sounds? In that it has FM engines and stuff, yeah, you can probably call that, well, not unique, but at least you can create your own from scratch. It starts out as a sine wave and you're modulating it kind of tones. So it's got that going for it. But the big chunk of hardware on your desk that you're dedicated to using as your rhythmic interface has certain appeal for some number of dollars. Maybe there's some like a whole group of people that see rhythm in that way and like would really buy into this. I mean, if you're looking for the 808 909 strip of LEDs blinking on 16ths experience, that's worth something. That's definitely a benefit.
Thank you. Brett, what do you think?
so it being a drum machine, I don't know, is as interesting to me as it being, like a drum synthesizer, which is kind of what what I'm gathering based on its FM capabilities, analog and such. That is actually interesting. I think the drum machine aspects of it, are kind of depreciated for me right now. I do have a drum machine. It's an Alesis SR16. I don't currently use it. And it's because I don't need it to drive the rhythm. I need the DAW to drive the rhythm. And so my takeaway on this is if I'm going to do that, then I think I'm going to be my use case for it would be, all right, sit it to where it's almost racked, and then really drive the rhythm from the DAW where I'm going to be designing the song. And then as I'm doing the drum parts, tweak this thing like I do the other synthesizers until I get, a sound or something that's interesting to me. That's kind of my thinking of it right now. Obviously haven't put in my grubby claws on it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, this is really good food for thought. I'm sorry, Ivan, did you want to reply to that?
gotta agree. I mean, it's got a lot of features. It is kind of handy. I am kind of leaning towards the idea of like building another Eurorack just for percussion, and also a really good Eurorack sequencer. Find a sequencer I like.
Okay, thank you. Rezi, I'm in after you, but please, I'd
Mine's
love to hear
quick.
yours.
It's just noticing that this is truly the legacy of the TR series, and it is a TR named drum machine because it ostensibly does have transistorized componentry, even if they're on ICs or something. So that's kind of cool. It's a nice thing that the legacy continues anyway, if nothing else.
When it's kind of nice to see Roland getting back to building something that uses circuits, instead of it just being like a digital playback machine. I appreciate that because that's taken a step on their part. They had been so against the idea of redoing any of those circuits for so long. Also, Brett, the SR16 is a great machine. That was my first love.
Thank you, says Frank. This is really fascinating. I got the Arturia BeatStep Pro specifically so I could get into the mindset of using a drum machine, and guess what? I didn't use it. There are so many brilliant things on that thing, like the MIDI compatibility, the USB, and obviously the CV gate and the trig. It's got 10 trig outputs, 8 trig outputs. It's dope. It's such a good machine, but I don't use it. And I go, yeah, I'm going to use this in live. And I did, but um, my mind is wired to the studio. And in the studio, I couldn't be setting up. Like, I remember when I was young, having you'd get a song in a drum machine and you'd link a whole bunch of different patterns together. And if you were out by a bar, then you're fucked. Um, Here's the drum fill saying that you're supposed to be going to the chorus now. It's like, I'm only halfway through the verse. So when I'm looking at a drum machine, it's like, what does it bring to it? Like, everybody said, does it bring groove? You know how the Akai's had that amazing fucking groove? Does it bring the groove? And what can I do? What does my DAW do that it doesn't? But maybe this isn't for people with DAWs. If you want a really amazing drum synthesizer, I'm gonna, and you don't have modular. I never know how to say Vermona. Get a Vermona. They're really good, except apparently the kick's a bit crap. But each of them have got analog outputs, so you can separate outputs, so you can distort them and whatever you want. You could set up an amazing modular drum kit for $1,000. And I would be absolutely suggesting that you go with the Mutant drums from Hex Inverter. I think Eric is now taken on a load of that stuff. I cannot speak highly enough of their 909 kick. I don't care what Roland does. They're not going to get anywhere. No one can get close to the stark brutality of the Hex Inverter 909 Mutant Kick, the BD9. It's just dope. And it can be a nice little sort of 808. It can be definitely a nice little 909, or it can be fucking spasmolitic crazy shit. Same with the hand claps, brilliant. The 808 snare, meh, but it's an 808 snare. And the hats, you know, they've got 808 hats, but also Erica does a really good 909 snare and a really good 909 hat, because remember the 909 hat sampled. So you could build and then get noise engineering, do a bunch of drum modules or a drum module called a BIA. I'm not even BIA. I'm not even going to try and say it. And it's like you can get them secondhand, you know, $300-400, and they're digital and they're beautiful. Imagine a DX7 as a drum machine, but it's modular, and there's so much shit this thing can do. And also, look, this is fascinating because you've got samplers, shitty old samplers playing drum machines, playing drum samples, and they're great. Can't beat them. Then you've got analogs doing drum machines, doing drum sounds, and they're great. Can't beat them. Then you've got digitals. And I got to tell you, the digital stuff that I've heard, like the new stuff, the new modular stuff, dude, there's some shit those things can do that analogs cannot fucking do. Like you can be sending real-time like modulation stuff to them, drastically changing the sound. So you've got this thing going on that is just brutal or beautiful or soft or whatever you're into. And that's the noise engineering buyer. Don't ask me to say it. There are so many really amazing things. And I think that, you know, for $2.5 grand, you know, so many have said, it's a lot of fucking money. It's a big investment. If you take this thing live and it's your main brain live, sure. But you could do the same thing for quarter of the price. Just saying. But perhaps there is some amazing damn thing going on. I don't know. But the whole thing I wanted to say is I have so much trouble using drum machines. And I want to use a drum machine. I really just want to set up a beat and use it and walk away and go, yeah, boom. By the way, that website that we shall not mention that we've all got open right now, although I look at mine in private viewing so I don't get ads, there's a classic drum machine on that, but really fucking cheap. And it's like, what? Razi.
Here's what's coming to mind about, like you just said, you want to put a beat on it and sort of set it up and forget it. And that's like free with your computer. Everybody that bought a phone, you'd have that, you know, or whatever. Like there's things that do that. And having an expensive device also that's really good at that is getting weirder and weirder as time, well, whatever, it got weird 20 years ago and it's staying weird, let's just say. So what I keep thinking of is the unique ways Brett mentioned, the unique sounds, and the split in a functionality from set up and let it do a beat and something that's truly expressive. And let's face it, drum shells and heads are out for a lot of people. You just can't bring that into your apartment or dorm or whatever. And Brett can because he's the boss. But, you know, for those who don't have 5 minutes to go run to their rehearsal space or 5 hours, whatever it takes, and go record their drum kit, things like digital analog triggered drums, there's a whole suite of unique and fully expressive stuff that's talking. The dynamics are there from touching to actually hitting. If we were talking something like specifically a Korg wave drum, the newer, cheaper one, not the classic expensive one, the drum head is piezo and microphoned, and you get the acoustic properties of touching the drum head. So you can brush it, you can strike it lightly and get taps, you can hit it hard and get noises, and the modeling inside the computer does things with that actual resonance. So it's a whole different world of, you can't set it and forget it because it doesn't have a sequenced memory. You have to walk over to it and record a part and perform something expressive in the moment, compose something from your, you know, hands and mind and embodied feeling. And that's where the split really happens. It's still electronic, the Korg wave drum in this case. It's still not making traditional tom-tom, snare, kick, cymbal sounds, but it's fully expressive and fully dynamic in the way, and also fully unquantized as a human until you make decisions later, you know, to create parts. And in the same way that my other rig on this side is the Simmons SDS8, and I have a few pads always hooked up to that, and it basically goes doof. That's pretty much what it does. You buy it and it goes psh or doof. And someplace between those two things, you can get also that fully expressive, unquantized human playing it. If you make flams, they're sound like human flams. If you make like, you know, rolls and stuff, they're definitely human rolls. So it's a very different non-grid, dynamically expressive from silent to loud. And that's like one of the things that trying to get a drum machine to do something unique, it's like a fight to do that. They excel, like Carl said, at I want a beat, 1, 2, 3, 4, got 4 kicks done. And especially if you keep them hooked up or if they're in your DAW, then you walk over to this other thing and sort of experiment with patterns. And let's face it, you can record that. It's going to MIDI to pitch to MIDI, and you can get the notes in there anyway. There's a million things you can do once you've expressively played something on an acoustic electric analog device that we'll never get exactly from a drum machine. Different strengths, different purposes, good to have both covered. I think nothing really has come new in the way of drum machines to put them into the other camp, and really nothing terribly new has come in the way of triggered pads and stuff to push them into the other camp. So maybe they are just two different purposes.
Amazing. Brett, hit me with your rhythm stick. Hit me slowly. Hit me quick. Hit me.
So, one of the things that I've not recently done, but one of the last things I've done with a drum machine, actually, with the SR16, was to just go through and assign the drums themselves based on their actual note value, their 12-tone note value. Then the beat, whatever I designed on it, was really I really just kind of used a lot of the preset beats, and I routed its MIDI output to the synthesizer. So I never heard the drum machine. I just let the drum machine drive some of the other synths. It was a lot of fun. And it makes me wonder how this Roland thing would do with the different outputs and whatnot in that same context. And I say that just because, you know, it's a good way to introduce some chaos into your playing, and sometimes it kind of acts like another player, if in a weird way.
Yeah, okay, that's really interesting. Like when you do stuff like that, because you know, you might set up a really cool little groove or something like that. And then you might say, well, I'm going to get the kick drum and I'm going to assign it to the bass. I'm going to get the hi-hats and I'm going to assign that to a little blippy blip thing. Yeah, it's this sort of experimentation is what's interesting to me. And you know, it comes to the core question of, so you got a new piece of gear or you're lusting over a new piece of gear. Is it going to help you write better music? But that's so arguable. Because I saw a thing with, what's his name? Melodic dude, melody guy. I don't know. He does reviews. Yeah, that guy. And his hands are always in it. And this is the new something, something, something. That guy, melodic Mylar Melodies or something. Always seems like a nice guy. And he put forward this argument. Okay, now I'm off topic. He put forward this very interesting argument that people who, because, you know, the big question you ask is, oh, that's great, but do you make music, Mr. fucking reviewer, with all this shit that you're getting? Do you actually make music? And there's always been people who like acquiring gear, but they don't make music. And it was very interesting that there's a lot of negative feelings towards people who just acquire shit, fuck around, and don't make music and don't actually put anything out. And I've always been aware of that as one of the greatest fucking composers I've ever worked with, which is Lux Voltaire. Doesn't give a shit. He just wants to make music, fuck around. And that's brilliant. And I was sort of like, you know, reading through the comments of this, and, you know, I went, you know what, I'm going to listen to this point of view. For me, I know what I have to do, but, and then I sort of made this realization that, you know, if these comments are anything to go by, let's just say noise engineering with the, I'm not even going to try and say it. the blah 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 synth comes out. So these are guys who are a boutique fucking modular company that you've never heard of, and they operate in a garage in Los Angeles. Um, Now, how many of their synths are going to serious musicians who are actually trying to put stuff out? And how many of that stuff is going to people who are just fucking around? The thing you've got to remember is that probably half half. So that means that normally they'd sell 100 modules to those very serious people. But now, because there are all of these other people who are fucking around, they get to sell 200 modules, which is firing and giving life into the boutique modular synthesis community, which is part of the reason I think why there's so many little brands full of who are doing weird, quirky, wacky shit is because fucking dude over there doesn't care about releasing music. They just want to fuck around, and they've got a day job in a bank and they hate their job. They just want to come around, fuck around. And in doing so, they are supporting little companies, which is a great thing. So looking at the economics of this is great. But what I come back to, because I'm such a grumpy bastard, is it's such a great thing. I don't have any room for it. Like Phoenix says, I can't afford that shit either. But what would it bring to my party? Like, what would it, you know, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I'm ranting now. Brent, get me out of this.
Man, actually, I'm going to go with you on that one for a little bit. Because I was actually, my wife and I were downtown in Savannah, and we found this weird little electronic shop. And inside, man, they had all these little synthesizers and whatnot that are just freaking cards. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'd never seen it before. And I think they're actually made by Teenage Engineering, but don't quote me on that. Nonetheless, for a serious minute, I sat there looking at it like, because this thing's like $150. And I'm like, okay, would I actually fuck around with that? And I ultimately didn't buy it because I sat there and I was like, well, if I take this thing to work and I really enjoy that, I mean, I do write music. If I have that thing with me, I'm probably done with everything else you have to say to me for the rest of the day. So no, I feel you on that. Quite honestly, it's these little toys and such that make noise or whatever that you can kind of pick up cheaply though, that are actually kind of inspirational. I mean, you can string them together, and so what if they do something completely abnormal? That might actually be the fun of it.
Okay. So I think you were looking at the noise engineer, the Teenage Engineering Pocket Operator.
Something like that, yeah.
They're fucking awesome because you can create songs, create beats, do all of this shit on them. And what's great is that there are all of these hot pad bits on the back where you can solder into those fuckers and pull them into a modular synth. And you can there's a power thing you can get where you can stick them in your modular. I fucked it up, so I blew mine up. And you can beat sync them to your modular. They take 4 16 pulse per quarter or something, I think, or 4 pulse per quarter. You can sync the fucking things up.
That's too cool.
Yeah. So you can make your little Kraftwerk beat, and then you can go home and work on your Kraftwerk beat with everything else. And modular or no modular, it takes sync in, sync out, and all of this gafuckery. They're so well thought out. And that is an example of, hey, I've got this little thing, and there you go. Thank you. Rezi, where's your brain?
I don't know exactly where I'm going with this, but when you're talking about these, like, they used to be able to sell them to just the serious people, sell them to the other people who aren't serious. Like, I will never gatekeep on curb appeal and interesting, fun stuff that everybody kind of wants one, even if it's just to put on display. And it made me think about, like, the sort of boffin, hand-wired Buchla, Moog, and Dave Smith working with soldering irons and stuff. And that right now there are hobbyist YouTube channels that you tune into, and they've got fucking coils of components in their own pick and place machines that they could do a run of. They drop a PCB, they send it off, they get 1,000 of them back because it's the same price as one once you do the initial run. And if you turn your pick and place on and you got a coil of little ICs and resistors, you might as well turn it on for 1,000 of them if it's already running, rather than just making one, because there's no more like hand-wired version of a printed circuit board. There's no more, once you've breadboarded it and drawn up your picture of a board, you send it off and it comes back, and it's kind of weird. And I don't know if those scales are really affecting us as far as what we get as far as these fun toys, but let's just say there are, I think, check me if I'm wrong, there's a lot of modular gear companies doing pretty good sized runs as small companies, and they can just make them. And I don't know if it's because they have their own fab, factory in their basement, or if it's just because you can get factories to do this. But the price dive on fully automated production lines for electronic stuff is just like, it's crazy. We're definitely the beneficiaries of it.
Yeah. We're totally off drum machines now. I have a theory that the reason that analogs have changed their sound, so you might get a 70s analog versus like a real analog versus a modern analog. The reason they sound different is because of the way the board is so cleanly cut now, and that there's this, when it's not cleanly cut, there's some sort of electromagnetic noise bullshit going on, and that added to the analog fatness, whereas now everything is absolutely precise. I don't know if that's bullshit or not. So there we go, kids. Drum machines. I'm just reading all these comments and I think it's really good. So I guess the moral of the story is fuck around. Do we want to keep talking about drum machines, or do we want to talk about something else? If we could, I'm going to throw it because I just saw Brett's hand go up. If anybody wants to sign off on this, could we do that? I've got a small guy who's screaming at me right now. I have to disappear for 30 seconds. So, Razi, the floor is yours.
You can't even hear him. If you get him close to the mic if you get a chance, because we're on camera.
It's running around, man. Back in the deck.
Sure, Brett, what's on your mind?
Man, I actually took a bit of your advice, Razi, this week. Bit the bullet, bought a very expensive program called MIDI Quest Pro.
Oh, cool, interesting.
I did it.
I'm fascinated.
Yeah, so I'm really glad I did, actually. I wasn't happy about the price tag of it. I'll be fair, but and I also checked, and I was like, look, are you guys still writing stuff? Are you still an active shop? That's a lot to drop on something that isn't, still being supported and going. But they are. They responded very quickly. They've been straight up the whole time. And so I bought it. It uses iLok, so you need to make sure you're doing all that. But the Pro version, and this is the thing that sold me, has VSTs for all the instruments.
Right, so you can have a picture of your hardware gear hosted within your DAW of choice because MIDI Quest is running the middleware between them, even if this piece of hardware never had a VST or an audio unit or a plugin of any sort. It'll present a interface that sends MIDI changes via. Am I onto what they're doing?
You are, and it actually can be the recipient of that MIDI channel. So the nice thing about that is when you do select it to be the recipient for the MIDI channel, every feature that the synthesizer supports is automatically understood by the DAW. And that's where I went, oh crap, that is a game changer. Because now you're talking about like the microchord, right? Every time I move a knob, that is recorded. And it knows exactly how to interpret that back. So I am still polishing the details on it. But on top of that, too, there's been discussion like with the K2000 about all these patches and whatnot that are out there. And with exception to the K2000, there are tons of patches for like the DX7, the Microcord, the Casio. Also, there are patches for the Quadrabird, and that threw me. That I was like, "Are you kidding me? Someone's gone into that." And anyway,
And the someone in this case is like a first party, like you don't have to sit around waiting for people to write modules for it because they give you a full suite of drawn interfaces that probably cleverly resemble the gear so you can visually remember it, but mainly fully integrate as if your unsupported 1986 synthesizer was a plugin within whatever DAW is running because it's just MIDI and you pipe in the audio back through your interface. So
that's exactly right.
that's a
And
different value proposition than, yeah, it's a pretty good librarian. It's a pretty good
well,
SysX editor.
and that's where, as a librarian editor as well, they nailed it. They actually got the programming on the PC, in my case, correct, to where when you actually reach out through a MIDI channel, a port, you actually do fully talk to the instrument. And then if you are having trouble, they've included stupid little things like quick helps.
Yep.
Hey, if you're having trouble with this, try doing this. And they're pretty on it.
Are you yet cursing the 3 synths that you have that don't power up with SysX enabled?
Actually, I don't have any of those in the rack anymore.
Okay, lucky. That's good.
Yeah. The 4 of those, I never really used them for their sounds anyway, and these are drum things, actually. So, for example, I've got a little, it's actually made by Yamaha. It's a DD something 5, I think it is. But what it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 drum pads on a box about yay big. And so if I want, going back to the drum machines and whatnot, if I want to do the hand played, I forgot the term for it.
Part thing.
Yeah, whatever. The expressions. Then I can do with that. But so it wouldn't really apply to that. But in terms of what it actually brings to the table for any, especially vintage synthesizers, is actually pretty impressive. And I was talking to even Rob about that, where it came down to emus and Akais, and their library of support for these things are pretty damn in depth. They support something like 1,000 instruments. Anyway, that was
Well, I'm looking at their site now. Thank you for bringing it back around to that. And I'm really glad that that's exciting. It sounds like it's going to be beneficial for workflow and for creativity rather than just a fun thing to get and take up all your time. Hopefully
that's it. And I will definitely let you know more as I get better at it. But yeah.
Right on. Back to you, Carl.
Thank you. That was bloody awesome. And the Emu sample library is gigantic. Like it's massive. Thanks. That was great. Hey, look, so here's my next question. Why get signed? So this is such a multiple part question, like it's myth and conjecture. It's just, I don't know, I'm letting off steam because I'm angry. Do you want to get signed? Do you have any but my question is why? What do you think you're going to gain from getting signed? Like, because so many bands, so many young bands that go, oh, record labels interested in me. And I go, like crucifixes and garlic, keep away. And I always hear the same argument. But Ivan, talk to me. Let's go. What do you got?
In this day and age, what good or what value is the label bringing to you by signing you? It used to be that you got connected to a label, you got signed. They brought A&R and they brought production and they brought marketing and they brought distribution and all of all the stuff you'd expect a label to do, they were doing. These days, you got to make your own TikToks. You got to go out and do your own socials. You're damn near like getting all the way down to having to fill your own mailings and ship out your own product. because the label is essentially just being there to be the label. And, like that's the big value they're adding. Like, screw that. Like it's turned into like just like an economic cesspit of they're not really doing anything for you, but they are getting a cut of your checks.
Thank you. Brett, give me your therapy, baby.
I used to want to be signed. Um, I want to say that the biggest driver of it was more of a status stick, you know? It would be like, hey, I made it as a musician kind of thing. And yeah, you're talking, 13-year-old Brett. Uh, and at that time, tapes and everything like that were 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 the distribution form. And so, labels meant, hey, if I wanted to find a new heavy metal band, I knew that if I'm picking up something by Nuclear Blast, that I'm probably in that right camp. Today, I can't tell you what a label does. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to them, but I mean, if I can't say I need them. I can't say I ever have needed them. Um, so maybe the answer is somewhere between it's one of those things I've grown up seeing, musicians and whatnot that I've enjoyed be part of, and thought that would be like, I thought it'd be kind of cool to be part of that club. Um, but I can't functionally reason a why to do it.
Thanks. I'm just letting out my anger right now. Here's Rob. Phoenix, tell me your thoughts.
I've never been signed, and I don't see the appeal to it because I've heard of other people get signed, and then the companies are like, here's a bunch of money, but that bunch of money is basically in a way a loan, so that they can, at least from my perspective, so that they can make a bunch of money off your music and whatnot. And then they try to direct you and say, well, you should take this out or you should put this in because this is what we want this song to be. So it takes away from my creative freedom as an artist. So I'm just like, I'm just going to do my own thing. And if I get big, I get big. If I don't get big, I'm just enjoying my music. And then I own all my own work. And as you said before, we have to set up our own TikToks or Instagrams or Bandcamps and all this other stuff. And they're not doing it for us. The most they might be doing is, oh, we'll pay for your hotel room. Or, oh, we'll pay for gas, maybe. I don't know. But it's changed so much, the whole industry, that it's like, what's the point in my mind? So, but yeah, those are my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Rezi, what are your thoughts?
I mean, how else am I going to get songs pitched to me? And a band to record the demos for those songs, and a producer to make the record, and a factory budget to manufacture the CDs, and a PR team to get me on the internet? How do you do that? Marketing to get me on the store shelves? You need rack jobbers, man. How do one even do that themselves? I think there's still a place for the mental model of a label, and I have friends who are successfully operating as labels. They're musicians, they're creative workers. These few examples, and yet they have a fully formed notion of the project, and the label that carries it and releases it is still a functional, if not corporate entity, at least an emotional one in their work. And there's something to that. that's not getting signed. That's functioning as a label, which my hilarious joke sort of underscores that we're already doing a lot of that stuff anyway. And there's an alignment with some of my other examples that I've experienced, and I have friends who are continuing to experience, where you're already doing a thing that the label also does, and I mean that stylistically or culturally or collaboratively, and you do still end up being, hey, it's a non-musician entity and a musician entity, but their sphere still contains a lot of other musicians and maybe connects you with them and maybe gives you some of their reach, some of their fan bases, some of their collaborative inspiration. So these things can work. I see them still functioning in that way, which is really far from it's, the large corporate buys a lot of song ownership from a lot of artists and hopes to spend millions and make a couple of them stars and the rest of them just fall away. Like that system, I think, is a mythological. Now I can ride limos, but what we're talking about is a truly artist-driven, grassroots, personalized, creative function and social function still. Fans, artists, repertoire. There's still a thing there that some label concept serves to foster that single artist might not. They might, and then they become the label. So it's an interesting little space that I still see happening, thriving, being powerful, interesting, invigorating for the people involved in it. I kind of still want a piece of that, maybe, like if I can find the right moment to grab something. So, something exists.
Thank you. Ivan.
Yeah, the amount of like creative and economic input that you get from the label is only diminishing. It only seems to be diminishing, at least. And part of the problem is the labels have gotten really complacent in just like operating the way they are instead of kind of rethinking themselves and trying to find ways that they can add value, because like that's really the crux of it. They're no longer adding or bringing any value to the table. And like back in the olden days when everybody had to go to a big expensive studio to record their stuff, the label would at least foot the bill for that and make that the part of the loan that you were taking out against yourself. But nowadays you can do all of that recording at home. You don't need to go to an expensive studio and spend a week recording an album. You can record it at home and then send it off and get it mastered and mixed, or mixed and mastered. Um, so like that has actually kind of greased the wheels on our creativity, which is good. But at the same time, like now what's the label actually doing for us? It used to be that I thought at least they were covering that like last bit, like project managing. You're getting through writing an album, like because that takes some project management, or at least project managing, like getting an artist hooked up with other artists of other sorts. So like you've got your video guy and you've got your still art, getting your t-shirts made, getting posters printed, that sort of thing. And of course, like when there were record stores, distribution. But now there's essentially close to no record stores, and practically on a good year, album and CD sales, like the physical media sales, they're a tiny portion of what's left of that industry. The only reason they feel big is because there's so few manufacturing centers left that make the actual albums and actual CDs, that now you end up in a waiting in line to actually get your, media pressed. And so, the big labels they really need to kind of reinvent what they think that they're doing, and they need to like get out there and take some risks again because they've stopped taking risks of any way, shape, or form. And I can't remember who pointed it out, but like, back in the olden days, record execs were, a bunch of old guys who weren't terribly infinitely well connected. And like those guys who weren't well connected, those old guys who weren't well connected, were way more likely to look at an act and be like, oh shit, we'll give that a try. Um, when we got into like algorithmically figuring out whether or not an act is going to sell and got like the big finance bros in charge of the labels, they stopped taking any kind of risk at all. And, we just get more blandness as a result. And they have a difficult time selling blandness despite the fact that they're just making more blandness. I hope
Thank
I'm
you.
there.
Okay, so I'm just talking to I'm just asking an AI about specifically fuck off, fuck off, fuck off. Oh my God.
Is that what you're telling the bot, or
No,
is the
no,
bot telling you that? Because
that's the yeah, that's what it's telling me. I just put in a label, an industrial label that everybody knows about. And I said, what cut does it, what's it giving artists and what's the cut? And it's like, it's really fascinating. Firstly, I acknowledge that I'm Gen X. I don't give a shit about all these label fucking generation bullshit, but I think in this case it does kind of matter. My audience is predominantly millennials and X. But do Gen Z and millennial bands give a fuck about labels? Do they care? Do they know? Do they understand? It's a rhetorical question because I can't answer it. I'm just looking at the shamefully fucking disgusting shit that I'm reading here. That this very well-known industrial, the cuts they're taking. Okay, so musicians have the ability to pull money out of thin air. Literally, that is what you are doing. You are pulling money out of the air where all the music magically floats around. That's money. And there are all these things where you as a musician can magically catch that money. It's one of the few things in the world where, and it's abundant. It's like air. You just keep pumping it into the air and money keeps falling out of the air. That's what it is. I am not bullshit. And people go, oh man, there's no more money in music. It's like, I don't know about that, son. But that goes into another question because I felt heckles and blood just go off when I said that. You're pulling money out of the thin air. It's one of the few industries in the world that actually pulls money out of the thin air. The shit that you're breathing, it turns it into money. It fucking does. And corporations, etc., XYZ want a cut of that. Back in the olden days when Gen X were kids, etc., there was the concept of labels, and even indie labels had something to offer. For example, money, promotion, because everything has changed 20, 30,000 times since then. Like the entire industry is completely, totally evolving and overhauling itself all the time. Um, um, a record label will deliver you broken promises for the cost of half of your income. Plus, you have to buy your music off them as well. Because they now own the rights to your music, not you. So you have to buy digitals from them and you have to buy CDs from them. Theoretically, that's good because they've just printed a whole bunch of CDs, but there's a whole bunch of red tape in there that if you don't end up selling those CDs, there's a buyback plan. Next, they're going to own your shit for 5 to 7 years, and at the end of that 5 to 7 years, they're going to make it as hard as possible to get your everything back, including digital. So the money that you could be getting from streaming royalties, which does actually exist, I couldn't be fucked having that argument right now, It's there, it exists. They're taking 30 to 50% for the entire lifetime of its cycle. And then when it comes time for you to arduously get it back off them, remember they're making it as hard as possible for you to claim that you remove them from the internet and repost them. So all of the likes and all of the connections and everything else are miraculously gone. That also means that if you're signed, you probably can't do crowdfunding, or if you do, it's going to be a lot more complicated. If you have a merchandising thing built into your agreement, you're a fucking idiot because you've just lost that shit as well. Not only are you, just don't do it. For the love of fuck, don't do it. If you're going to have some deal, here's what Uncle Carl thinks, Auntie Carl thinks. They can sell your digitals from their Bandcamp, but you take 80% at least. If you sell your shit off Bandcamp, that's 100% because you're paying for production, you're paying for mastering, you're paying for the whole fucking thing. Now, I actually think it's a great idea to do what's called a distribution deal where you print 100 CDs or 50 CDs. And then you send it to them and they sell them. They will put their cut on top of it and out it goes to their distributors. But since there are no more distributors, I think there is one fucking shop left because you can't get your shit into Amoeba and you can't get your shit into all these other places. Trust me, you fucking can't. You're selling them directly to people, so they're selling it directly from their website. Basically, don't do it. It's better to actually pay someone to help you out with marketing. But then, what are they going to do? Because back in the olden days, which is like 10 years ago now, people could send stuff to magazines and they could send stuff to playlists and yeah. But there was a kind of like 30% chance that shit would get played. Now, and plus now it's not being driven towards sales, it's being driven towards streaming. I haven't even started. If they're going to take 50% of what you do, they are obligated by duty of care to at least double your sales. So if you're streaming 1,000 streams a month on whatever right now, when you get signed, it's got to go up to 2,000. That's what's going to happen. And you need to see fucking receipts from those cunts because they will steal from you every chance they get. They fucking will. They're backing you because you have money. They're not backing you because they love you or believe in you. Fuck that shit. Come on. Wake up. Welcome to fucking Carl Saturday morning. As far as I'm on the same label as Frontline Assembly, who gives a fuck? It's bragging rights. That's about it. You might go from an opening act to a second act. I received, except from Dancing Ferret with Patrick, I received very little support. And at the end of the day, you had to shove out for that shit anyway. As far as like label collaborations, nah. So I was offered a deal with someone, I won't say who, and their deal was I'm going to print 50 CDs. And the cost for me of your CDs, and here's all the books and here's everything. This is where I'm getting it done. Here's the money. The cost for me to print those 50 CDs is going to be this much. So from those 50 CDs, I'm going to retain 25. And I'm going to send you 25 CDs and you can sell them and do whatever the fuck you want. I get to keep 50 and I'm going to sell them. And it was nothing. I think the Bandcamp thing was they were going to retain Bandcamp sales until they paid off something. I can't remember what. But it seemed like at the time a relatively good idea. And they were going to also send shit out to their newsletters, etc. A deal like that is okay because it's not an ongoing thing. It's just, and there's quite a few labels that are doing this now. They're, somebody who really likes your music and they want to cover you and they are covering your costs. That's fucking it. And they're making their money back immediately on physical distribution. They're not taking anything from your streaming, and they don't have ownership over your music. If you can find something like that, sure, maybe. But if they're owning your ass for 5 years, 7 years, or a sunset deal, don't fucking do it. If they're taking 50% of, I just can't. It's just broken promises that are built on I'm not even reading the comments right now. Everybody's telling me to calm the fuck down, I'm sure. It's broken promises that are based on a model that's really, 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 really old. And it's based on a model and hopes and dreams and aspirations of something that had a whole bunch of money. And I think Ivan said it before, is that you got to remember that when you sell a CD in the first 6 months of its release, that's when you're making all the money. But these motherfuckers are holding on to it for 5 to 7 years. So even when it's down, they're not doing much at all. And by the way, kids, they only give a flying fuck about your album for like 3 months, because from their perspective, it's all they can afford to do. Don't do it, but who gives a shit? Fucking listens to me. May is launching a label, and it's very similar to BPRP, because we can't call it Black Pill, Red Pill anymore. Where it's basically a collective. And I'm assuming I'm allowed to say this, but the concept behind collective labels are a great idea, because the label doesn't own anything. You own it all. It's all your responsibility. If you need to talk to somebody, you can talk to somebody on the label. But here's the trick. Here's the glitch. Here's why it sometimes doesn't work, is that it's important to act like a collective, which means you're not going, oh, I'm watching my ass all the time. You've got to be watching everybody else's. You've got to make sure that everybody else in the collective is okay. If somebody releases an album, everybody in the collective gets behind that album and pushes that album or single or fucking whatever. That everybody, if you've got a couple of DJs or something, they go back to the core collective, and the collective sends out, every time somebody releases something, it goes out to the DJs, it goes out to like an album, it goes out to the press. If it's a single, it goes out to the DJs. Collectivist labels are a great idea, but they break down because people stop pulling their weight. And they start thinking everybody else is supposed to pull their weight. No. You have to pull if you go into a collective thinking, I've got to pull everyone's weight, you're going to be fine. And if everybody in that collective has a fucking tried and true, like pulling other motherfucker people's weight, then it's going to work. But it just doesn't work because people don't look after each other. People don't watch each other's backs. Fucking hell. Razi, get me out of this mess.
100% behind you on the whole rant. Nothing to counter. Just makes sense. It's all smart advice. I did want to point out that it sounds like you're describing a few different kinds of record deals, and the 360 deal where they own is an actual thing is pretty rare, especially in industrial goth, like smaller indie labels and stuff that aren't affiliated with majors, where they own a piece of your career, so to speak, as in likeness and songs. Most of what you're talking about, and this is just because of the creativity component, to draw it back to that, like what we do is we write songs. We own those songs. Those songs don't get, the labels don't get a piece of our songs. The labels make a recording, quote unquote, even though we made the recording. The labels own a recording of your song. But every time that gets spun, they get half of the recording royalties. They don't get half of the songwriting royalties. Those are yours. You're the songwriter, probably the sole songwriter, probably 100% of these songwriting royalties from ASCAP and song, whatever, the places where musician songwriter royalties are distributed. That is all yours. It will always be yours. And if you sign that away as part of a 360 deal, you're a unicorn. I mean, I don't think anybody does that. Maybe I'm totally wrong and people do that all the time, but you'd better be getting some sort of advance, like that you're going to recoup to make that worth your while. Except that's where it becomes absurd, Carl, as you were saying. Like, I don't think advances really exist, nor are they necessary, because we already recorded the stuff. It's not like we need to. I'm going to let your rant stand and not try to reiterate things that you've said, but the pulling shit out of thin air and turning it into beautiful music that is money is still yours. Like, at least you've got that, no matter what kind of deal with manufacturing or recording record deal that you might sign, which Carl said it very well, and I think everybody has agreed about the reasons to be disillusioned and not bother with that. You're already there, you're already doing the things, but your songs, your songwriting portion, that half of all the royalties generated on everything you do through streaming and sync and games and sales and Bandcamp and every place it goes, is your part of the thing. And that's what you did of pulling that stuff out of thin air. And you should definitely always at least have held on to your songwriter portion of the future money that is generated on this song. Even if you do somehow sign away, the recording mechanicals and stuff like that. It's a weird decision to make, but they don't own half of what you do. They own half of a very specific portion of something that's half of a quarter of a career. And then, like, maybe your manager owns 15% of your everything that you do. If you have a personal manager, you're so lucky if you're at that point in your career. But these are further down the road discussions for when things get complicated. But creative work, pulling that air, turning it into money, totally that stays with you. That's lifetime. That's your, lifetime plus a generation, whatever the actual copyright statute is right now. You wrote those things. The stuff that's generated, the money that's generated by those are yours. And that's part of the beautiful, still just component of being a song creator.
Thank you. Also, something like I see your hands up. We're going to get to it. Something to think about is, what does your label, what is ideally something that the label brings for you? But I don't want to, because that's beyond, I'll buy my CDs. Like, from the perspective of like encouragement of tell you what, we'll come to that in a bit. Phoenix, and thank you, Razi. That was bloody wonderful. Phoenix, what are your thoughts?
I think that you have all given me really good ideas of how not to sign with a label. So I'm probably just gonna keep my indie stuff, be experimental, do what I do best with my cinematic dance, ethereal stuff, because I've been working my butt off to just get even plays, and I've been doing that. And in a way, like, I've talked to other friends that have labels and they're like, it's a trap. They're like, don't do it. And like, these people have like 3,000 people or 6,000 people following them. And they're like, yeah, I'm being forced to make more music for my label because they want more money. So they're having to like navigate all the chaos in order to do all this stuff. And the label's just kind of sitting there like, is it ready yet? And they're like, a little bit more time. They're like, well, you got a deadline. So it's that added stress. And some people work really well in stress, but I don't think I could work well with someone breathing over my shoulder saying, hey, is it ready? So you guys have given me a lot to think about, and I'm very, very appreciative of all that you've given me.
Thank you, Phoenix. Rob, have mercy on our souls. Good to see you, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, this is a really interesting topic, and I really appreciate the rant, Carl, because it's really relevant today. And I think people misinterpret, the reality of what today's technology brings us. I think, for number one, I think labels are antiquated and obsolete. Number two, there are so many different ways to get agreements for distribution today online that it's just mind-blowing. So it's almost like the whole industry is now gone indie, where everyone is an independent producer and they have this massive treasure trove of services that they can pick and choose from. And the good thing about modern distribution agreements is they're no longer exclusive. So that means that DistroKid can put your stuff on 5 different streaming outlets, whereas the old labels were fully exclusive. You know, Mushroom's only going to sell their records to these companies. They're only going to participate in certain concerts every year, because they've got agreements and agreements and agreements, right? They make an agreement with the television network. They make an agreement with a movie company for rights to their songs on that movie that they're releasing. And today, the content online, the streamers business, is just content. It doesn't matter whether it's music. It doesn't matter whether it's game telecasting or miniseries movies. It doesn't matter. It's all content. So today's labels are actually YouTube, Bandcamp, Spotify, TUBI. They're the labels today. And their business model has gone on steroids because everyone can create interesting content now. It's not just one band making a cool song. It's, I'm going to make a stupid video that's going to go viral, and the distributor gets benefits from that. You know, you get benefits, you get a plaque on the wall, you get some kickbacks after 1 million views or whatever. The company is making a fortune as well. So it's economics, it's business sense. The labels today make money off content. Those are agreements. They're non-exclusive. That's how they get paid. Now, I'll go back to your question, Carl. What are the positive benefits of a label today? The positive benefits of a label today are amortizing the costs of a release. That's a benefit. How can you also do that without a label? Well, actually, there is a label called Kickstarter. That's a label. So that's crowdsourcing, that's crowdfunding. So you can have avenues of approach for funding your release, you know, developing all your collateral that you want to market and sell through labels like Kickstarter very, very successfully, provided you know what you're doing and what the traps are. There's goods and there's uglies, right? So I think, today it's unfounded how much versatility a musician actually has. It's incredible. It's amazing how much stuff a musician can do online today by themselves. Now, that's one audience. What about the punk rock band that practices in their garage? They don't give a shit about the internet. They don't even have any recording devices. All they do is they practice with analog gear and they go to pubs. Do they want a label? Probably, because if they don't give a shit about marketing and they don't care about how to make a music video and edit a music video, they probably need somebody to help them with that stuff. So the positive thing about a label is somebody is making business, making money, and they should be profitable on helping bands get stuff done. That's positive. Promotion, marketing, developing videos. But the question is, where's the fine line? How do I know how much that should cost? Where's the scale online that I should go to and say, okay, if I'm an indie band and I want to print an album and distribute it on these great sites, how much would that cost? And is it fair to go to a independent label and pay $1,000? Is that reasonable? I don't know the answer to that, honestly, because there's no static studio anymore and the garage band. There is a seamless transition spectrum, if you like, of people with gear and access to agreements, and they can each do some services for you at a very different price. So again, it's almost like a buyer's market. You can go out there and talk to anyone you want, trade them off, and choose the best deal for you. Is there any guidance for that? We're in it. It's called Art of Rock. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, Rob. You've given me an idea, but I'm going to talk about that in a moment. Brett, hit me. Thanks again, Rob. Fucking good rant. Haven't heard Mushroom mentioned in quite a long time. Rob, floor is yours.
Man, Rob actually said everything I was going to say. I really don't have much to add to that other than, as part of that answer, I am curious about what you described as collective sort of labels. And that kind of marries with a comment I saw in the chat there, where maybe there's, maybe within the collective, there's kind of a division of responsibilities of some kind, where there's a set expectation of you're going to do this, you're going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then that way you're operating as a coordinated team.
Thank you very much. Rosie, what do you think?
Rob, I think there is a rational formula to figuring out the how much. And if we get away from the label has an unlimited budget and an unlimited influx of artists, so the numbers don't matter, they're just going to keep gambling until something pays off, because it will, because of the sheer scale of their budget and the sheer scale of the number of talented potential stars that are coming in. You get rid of that and you just do like some sort of what do I need to live? What do I need to live comfortably? What do I need to be rich, feel rich? That kind of scale. And then just like do the percentages. An artist management portion is 15% of that. The labels portion is based on a number of units that you would have to personally sell to earn that much money. And think of all the ways you can exploit your ownership in the song and in the half of the recording, and then the labels half the recording. And those are like kind of standardized to some extent. I'm not saying there's any real creative or inspirational benefit to doing that math, but those numbers do sort of exist for I think the term that we've used in the past 20 years has been middle class of musicians, where you're earning a living. And the numbers do flow from that. I don't know, is $150,000 a year being rich? Is $20,000 a year making it so you can get by? It depends on where you live and all those things. But in the same way that you figure out the other middle class, collar jobs, you can sort of do that math, back solving for what you need to get by to buy milk and to be in cat food. So.
And she's not happy, or she's happy now. Thank you. Okay, so firstly, Mushroom, if you're wondering, was this Australian record label in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, and it was pretty fucking cool, actually. It was kind of like a massive indie label, and it was awesome. It was the last fucking Wild West of, although it was corporate as fuck, but the idea was good. It was this very cool record label. I'm just going to reply to a whole bunch of stuff that I've been reading and everything. Okay, so the problem with, like, in a collective situation, if people have a job, the bugger that I have found constantly, I just said bugger, the constant bugger in a fucking collective is that people stop doing that job. Oh man, I'm sorry, I was so busy. Oh man, I've got so many excuses going on. Well, bitch, this is my fucking record that I'm releasing, and when your record came out, I did your fucking record. That, kids, is what we call a fight. And that's what happens. Oh, fuck, I'm done with these guys, That's what happens. I would, and my problem is that, and yes, Alistair has everything to do with psychedelics, because it's Australia. That is what I have constantly run into with collective labels, is that at the end of the day, it's me carrying everyone else's weight. And then when I go, you know what, fuck this. So, hey, look, I really need, if you notice, I really need, this is just trauma therapy for me. And I thank you for that. Same time next week. Yes, that'll be $150. Sorry, $350. Just also FYI, Tidal has a new super powerful pitching algorithm. Tidal. So titles are the giants as far as paying artists go. But apparently the thing about it is that it can't be delivered to Tidal via DistroKid or by Orchid or any of those things. You have to upload them yourself. And if you upload them yourself and you become a Tidal artist, which is free, you can then take advantage of their pitching. I think I've got this right because I got the email from them the other day. So I think you can go into DistroKid or AWOL and say, please don't deliver to Tidal. I'll do that. But you should look into that. Next, so I had this idea, and thank you, Rob. I'm going to pitch this to May, and I'm now pitching this to MTV TV in front of everybody, because MTV TV is kind of a label when you think about it. It is. And it is kind of a community where, hey, look, two people are carrying the load of all of these bands that could be doing so much, but they're not. And I'm sorry, because I'm not doing enough. So I'm now going to heap more on you. MTV TV or Maymay or whatever collective you're involved with should put together a 1-hour music video show and make it as punk rock and cool as possible, which MTV TV are already doing and streaming it to Twitch, and that's great. But they output it as a singular video and upload it to TUBI. And it's content on TUBI. You can do it on archive.org because it's easy. But if you do it on TUBI, because I'm reading, you have to be a member of Film Hub. Film Hub will take a 20% cut of what is released. And if my video's on there, as far as I'm concerned, MTV TV, you fucking have that money because you're worth it. No one is offering that. And it's free and it's right there. And everybody's thinking and scratching their beards. So I think that would be bloody awesome because MTV TV have already got a label going on. In fact, you know, on Pluto and also on TUBI, they stream. And I'm not sure, because they are owned by Fox, I'm not sure what the corporate alliance is with all that stuff. But what would happen if you were streaming onto Pluto or MTV TV or TUBI? Because you can hook into the fucking 80s channel or the hip hop channel or the this, the that. So I'm sure there's some sort of big stop, press everything corporate ownership. And these guys also, you can get it onto Pluto as well, I think. So if you type into, God, this is why I love AIs. There it is. That was my prompt. Step by step, how to submit your video to TUBI. And my suggestion on this is it could be all your music. Angelspit could do this. Angelspit should fucking do this. But Devo has done this. They just stack all their videos up there. Food for thought. Talk to me, Rob.
That's really interesting. I'm going to be doing some research this afternoon on that because, you know, I am a business guy. I like to look at marketing and economics. I have got an MBA. Scary shit. I like getting into all the legal stuff and the business side of the house. What's really curious for me is the distribution agreements that come in place with those sorts of networks, because does that mean that you can't post your video to YouTube, and are there other restrictions? I'm going to have a look into that. That's really interesting. Thanks for that, Carl. A couple other things I had a thought on was distribution agreements are really tricky, and I've had this problem before where I've done some background music, for example, for a streamer, and I have to make sure that I don't have a distribution agreement in place already for that music. So, you know, there's a gamer guy who wanted to use my audio. It's just melodic stuff. There's no vocals in it. He just said, "Hey, I like your computer music. Can I grab your computer music tracks and play them in the background of my stream?" And I said, well, I'd love to do that, but I'm not sure if that will work because you'll get a flag. You'll get a strike. And so this is sad, but he actually got banned from YouTube, and he's a YouTube Premium member. All of his streams are on YouTube, and he got a permanent ban, and they deleted all of his stuff. He had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube, lost them all. And because we're both software engineers, we worked out a way, because he didn't have backups of them all, because that would be horrendous. You think about a 1 hour long video stream takes up a lot of memory, right? We had to work out a way of recovering all of that material from YouTube's server to get it back so he can actually go and release it somewhere else. Because if YouTube tells you you're screwed and you're terminated, then you need to make sure you've got a backup, because he didn't. There was no physical way that he could keep a backup of that stuff. It was just too much content. And he didn't get it all back, but he managed to write scripts that would allow him through the API to pull a lot of that content back home to his hard drive. And, that kudos to him, because it was an open API. There was actually literally nothing stopping him. And because he no longer had an agreement, there was no reason why it wasn't lawful. So just beware of that. And it's a problem that I've ran into before, is when you're trying to be exclusive under one agreement, like YouTube or TUBI, it might have negative ramifications on how wide you want to spread the word. And if you think about this, Carl, the reason why they have these agreements in place is to stop copyright. But if you wanted to talk to the 10 top streamers of gaming, and they were keen on playing your Ice Planet 9000 album during their streams for 6 months, you can't do it because you've locked into an agreement. And I think the interesting thing of what you're talking about, Carl, is if you go down a collaborative label approach, you might actually be able to get those game streamers to consider that approach to get the music that they want, because they can't get the music they want. Let's say that they love Nine Inch Nails. Well, they're not going to get it. But if they want to play Angelspit, they could get it if it went through some sort of collaborative label. That's also something worth looking into, because it's all law, right? You write up a contract, you got to make an agreement on what you can and can't do with somebody's intellectual property, and then you work out the costs. That's what a contract is. It's just business. How could you do that with a collaborative agreement to allow streamers, which have millions of viewers, to play their favorite album because they want to, but they can't? So think about that.
Okay, thank you. Rezi, thanks, Rob. Rezi, can I just be super quick? This is how I've worked around that. One, I will write music for people exclusively. It doesn't go to distro. It doesn't go anywhere else. It only exists with them. And there's a small fee for that. And it might be a small piece of music that just goes trumpet, 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 trumpet for like 20 minutes. And it's got a stinger, intro, and an outro piece. It's like a kind of a corporate TV ad gig. Another thing I do, that because the algorithm is looking for the imprint of the music. And if I take certain instruments out and remix it, as in mix it again, not remix, but do another mix of it while taking vocals out and other instruments out, or taking instruments and drastically affecting them so that it changes the algorithm, or changing the drums, or taking out a drum instrument or something like that. Like it's got to be, wow, this is a different mix, and giving it a different ISRC number, I can get around it. And I figure that out by taking it and uploading it. Or I put it on Facebook, and if it comes back to me saying copyright error detected, you didn't go far enough didn't go far enough. But it's really amazing that adding a big chunk of reverb or a big chunk of delay or distorting something makes the algorithm go, oh, it's a new piece of music, and make sure that when you put it up on, you give it a different ISRC, and do not send it to AWOL. Do not claim it with APRA or whoever. It doesn't fucking exist. But that's one workaround that I found. Love it. Razi, what's going on?
That fits exactly with the specs of what ISRC requires and expects you to do anyway. If there's substantive changes to the mix, it gets a new ISRC code. It is a different recording. It's a different mix. Even if the fade out is like pretty different, I think there's some gray area with slight remasters that you might not generate a new code and be a different recording for, but generally any changes to the mix, if you're rendering out a new version in any way, it's new code, new song. Whether algorithmically that gets differentiated by content ID and stuff, that's a different discussion, but it's an interesting, there's guidelines on the ISRC site to sort of put that into perspective. And also jumping back a second to what you were talking about with Tidal, it really piqued my interest, because I remember they were doing a thing, Tidal and DistroKid, where it was kind of cut out the middleman, but you still had to go through DistroKid. It just changed the royalty percentage structure. And what I think they're doing now, just because this is interesting, where labels still having this gatekeeper status where they have relationships directly with the music outlets, the retailers, Apple Music, Amazon, Google, Tidal. That was a reason for labels and being topical for this discussion. That's sort of dissolving. If you can upload directly to your own distro, the labels are less important. Yes, we can do that. There's a million distributors. If those distributors were also dissolved, that's another percentage where it's artist directly relating with the streaming services or radio, as it were. That's also fascinating. But I don't think that's what Tidal is doing here. I don't think that these uploads to them participate in royalties and content ID and stuff. I think that they're promotional things. So they get to not give you, in the same way that Spotify is fucking people. Let's fact check this and come back to it. But my suspicion is this is like what Spotify did when you give them a thing. Like, oh, thanks. Promo. No royalties. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's definitely a spot fact-checking thing, because if you use DistroKid or whatever, you're on Tidal. And it's so worth, with Spotify, you can become a verified artist by, registering as an artist so you can access your account. Do it with Tidal, do it with Apple. You got to do it with Amazon Music, do it with all of these things. And I did it with iHeartRadio, and I don't know why. Man, I'm
Hey, I got 2 radio ads this week. Two ads on the report for radio stations. Speaking of iHeart, it's still a thing that exists. That's 2/100ths of a cent that I'm going to get that I wasn't getting. So
dude,
yeah,
dude. No, that's actually really good. And also fucking Pandora as well. And Pandora, who pay the least of everyone, they are trying and they are doing a lot of things to try and push artists. But my thing about Pandora is that when I look at the breakdown of how much I get played, how much I get paid, I always come back to, is it worth it? But the thing about Pandora is that they are always there. And Pandora listeners they've been listening to Pandora for 20 fucking years or however long. I digress. I'm still looking into this TUBI thing. Apparently, yes, you can play, have it on YouTube and TUBI. Yeah, so this is really fascinating that, yes, Pandora is still around, D. Pandora they're still going, and they do every month. They do a meetup with artists where you can zoom in, ask them questions, and they have promotional tips and all sorts of stuff. And they really are trying, but like I said, they pay less than, I think they pay half of what Spotify even plays. But this TUBI thing's really piqued my thing, because it's not just TUBI, it's a whole bunch of places as well. Yeah, I think it's definitely looking into. Talk to me, Resonator.
Yeah, if the money difference is anything like what it is between streamers and YouTube, it's because video sync rights are, for whatever reason, still this special class of, it's more money goes to the artist. It's still a great place to work. I'm interested in this also for that reason.
So it's 2 cents a view on TUBI, and when you break it down,
that's 100
that's
times
more than Spotify.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because that's an hour worth of stuff. It could even go up to 12 cents. Oh God, I love AIs. And then it's got a total, oh wow. See, this is why we have collectives, and Art of Rock kind of is a collective. It's a whole bunch of people getting together and bitching, and we come up with shit like this. It's great. This is really interesting. This is really, hey, look, I don't want to add to MTV TV's fucking, if anybody wants to help out You should help out MTV TV. If you got a crazy idea, how about you talk to MTV TV about getting one of these things onto Tubi? One. The best fucking music, the best videos. Don't do it for your mates. It's got to be the best music we've got, because this is going on behalf of a collective, which is MTV TV. We've got to put our best foot forward if you're crazy enough to do this. And this could turn into something. And look, hey man, like I said, if one of my videos is on this, I am totally okay with this money going back to Adam and Diana. Totally okay. Which reminds me, another way we can be helping MTV TV, it's coming. Wow, segue. Is they also have a Patreon. So get on there and back their damn Patreon. Oh, yeah. Oh wow, like Grim could be doing this. There's a lot going on here. Yeah, you guys have to have a staff meeting. So, and also remember, if you do a stream, a YouTube stream, a fucking Twitch stream, what the fuck is going on? Is anyone else getting all these emails from Twitch going, I don't know what's going on? Send it back, right back to MTV TV. Yeah, everyone's going, there's no distro. There's nowhere for me to get my music heard. There it is, right there. And all I have to do is make a video, but I don't because I'm a prick. Okay, so does anybody else want to jump in here? Oh, somebody did. Does any last questions about this? Or there is one other thing that somebody brought up. I'll be quick. So I'm working with Wicked Stories again. Fucking love working with Wicked Stories. I don't know if we're allowed to say who Wicked Stories actually is, but everybody knows who it is. It's Grim. Everyone knows who Grim and Slash is. And you know, if you know me, you know how much I hate writing press releases. So what Grim and myself are doing is we're just getting the lyrics, sticking it into an AI and saying, give me a 25-word press release for this song. And it just comes up and goes, boom. It nails it. And you might say some spooky music by Angelspit and Grim. And it just hits it every time. There was a question. Both of these are really big questions, and we've kind of got 15 minutes. Do we want to wrap it here, or do we want to dive into something? All right, let's dive.
Man, that's a big question.
It is. So it's either between how do you write a melody or are genres important? Should we pick up with are genres important because everybody thinks being so business orientated? Or is that a good reason to go to melodies?
I'm not sure what the second one. I'm not sure what you said on the second one.
Are genres important, or how do you
genres.
write a melody?
Ooh.
That was an evil laugh, Brett.
Yeah, we can do genres.
Okay, let's do genres. Are genres important?
They're self-important. I mean, they're useful. They're useful to an extent. They definitely help the listener find music that they're likely to like more readily. Do they help the artist? Not really. I would not. I don't think I've ever met an artist who's been like, no, I love genres. But the listener, me as a listener going into a record store, who's this? Well, what genre are they? Yeah, no, there's a reason to classify.
This is such an interesting thing. Thank you. You've just made a very boring conversation into something really interesting. So thank you for that. I'll also rephrase this as how important are hashtags to you? Because genres are just hashtags, I think. Rob, thank you again, Brett. Rob, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I break it into influences, tags, and styles. So to Brett's point, we want to find common types of music that we enjoy together, right? Whether it's rock or whatever. If they could break down genres even more, that would be interesting, because I've seen in some software where they'll break one genre into 20 different subgenres, and it allows you to really hone in on what you're looking for. And I would relate that to style. So take the genre of hip hop and then break it into 20 different sub genres or styles, where you've got electro funk hip hop or trance hip hop or industrial hip hop. Now you're getting very specific. And as a tag, I think that's very helpful, because it helps you state to the consumer what your music style is and what influences are close to your style. What's really infuriating and frustrating is that the labels, the distributors, don't really have any sub genres, and they don't even have all of the genres. They don't have fucking industrial tags, right? I find that super annoying. But again, if they get it right, then it's very helpful. Like if you use music software, you want to get a melody. Let's talk about finding a melody. I want to drill into I want 90s Prodigy style industrial punk, and I want to find those tunes and melodies that would suit my vibe. That is actually, I'm just trying to kill two birds with one stone here, but that actually is super helpful. Yeah, it's doing the finger thing, Carl. A lot of finger sex. Yeah, over to you.
And that's actually a finger orgy as well. Thanks, Rob. Why do we always go there? Oh, that's right. We're Australians. I had a very funny conversation yesterday about, I can't say that on the stream. I'll tell you later. I just put a whole bunch of my hashtags that I use there. And I don't know how important hashtags are anymore, but like you said, oh, that's what I wanted to say. Spotify has, it's either Spotify or AOL / the Orchard have greatly, I think it's Spotify has greatly expanded the genre that you can pick from when you're pitching, because everybody pitches, right? It's the one good thing about Spotify is that their pitches are insane. They've got dark wave. I don't think they have cyberpunk. They have EBM. They have industrial rock, and electro industrial. They've got fucking everything there now. It's bloody awesome, because usually it's like, oh, I'm electro music, and the only one you really got to pick from is techno.
Dance.
Yeah. But yeah, they've really picked that up, and I think they've even started using Crime Wave. And for Ice Planet 9000, they have space music. I'm going to shut up now, and I want to hear what the Phoenix has to say.
Most of my hashtags are like video game music or psytrance or data wave or cyberpunk, cinematic or ambient, because I've noticed I've been getting more plays doing that. I've also noticed if I put the beats per minute, like 120 beats per minute, 90 beats per minute, or so on and so forth, I get more people listening to my music that way, because they're like, oh, I just want to listen to a really slow song, or I want to listen to a faster song. But yeah, most of my stuff is like, I don't know. The last one I made kind of sounds like it was ripped out of a vampire game. So it's kind of cool. But yeah, with the whole different genres and subgenres, I saw a big chart of, it started with just EDM, and it just was like 100 different subgenres, and I'm like, crap, I don't know where I am in this chart, but I do my own thing, and a lot of people have said my stuff is experimental. So
I thank you. I think it's a very good idea to try and figure out what your genre is, just to help people find you. And if you don't know what it is, ask a friend, or somehow ask an AI. Because AIs are all about little boxes. And if there's a way you can upload music into it, or say, hey, my music exists here. Because if I ask an AI, it's going to say, oh, well, these are the hashtags that Angelspit rely on. But if you say, what do other people say that my band is? Or what do you think my band is, and point it at a video, and I think it can listen. I'm not sure. Fucking, I don't know. AIs are good for at picking genres for a track. Good on you. Thank you, Brett. Razzie, I don't want to hear what you say. I want to know what Josie has to say.
She's a meow. What the hell else is she gonna say? She's a cat. Bye. As a music listener who hasn't had the marketing attitude on in a couple of months, I feel like social subcultures are important, genres are not, and they're increasingly less important culturally. Partly because in my sort of narrow view of this, I use exactly two ways to listen to music almost exclusively. And that is, I either type the name of the song that I want to hear and it plays it, or I say play the music that I like and it algorithmically, based on tone and color and things that I've already played and affinities, selects an hour of tunes that I can skip every third one, and it gets better. So there's no exposure to what it figured out the genre is or what the artist's intention of genre was. And I find that it presents a pretty wide breadth of what people would consider different genres also. I mean, there's some very prog rock stuff up against some very soft rock stuff up against some very industrial stuff as the time goes by. So the music listener in me doesn't get exposed to it, and I think that's probably very different than the music marketer, but it's an interesting distinction. And to get back to the marketer side, both Phoenix and Carl, where are you putting these hashtags? Where do you see results from hashtags?
I don't. I put them at the end of every post I make that's band related. Honestly, I don't know why I do it. I think it's because some cool kids told me to do it. And I saw a video and it was like this: 5 YouTube tricks you need to know. And remember to like and subscribe. Hey, do you want to get more people listening to your music? Well, here's 5 tricks to help you. You won't believe number 5. So stick around and remember to like and subscribe. And then they talk for half an hour about dumb shit that I don't want to fucking hear about before they get to the thing. They could just present me the goddamn information in point form, but no, they don't. Frank, it's okay. I'm not getting too freaky. Hold on.
And the headline had a pronoun in it rather than the person's name that's telling you the stuff. He used these 5 hashtags and this is what happened.
Yeah. So Frank's hashtag is meow.
He's a cat.
Okay. I had nothing to say. I just felt like yelling. Thank you for letting me yell, and thank you for
Appreciate
everything.
it. I would like to point out that Phoenix did say results-based things also, and I was interested in
Results with Schmaltz, Phoenix. Don't you know who we are? Do we give a shit about facts? This is the art of screaming at people. Ivan, yell at me now.
So shit. The thing I am getting tired of just over classifying it, music in general. Like I don't like that. It very rarely actually does much that is terribly useful other than add words. Hashtags, on the other hand, are useful because the algorithm can use those to, classify you into a rabbit hole and put you with other rabbits in that rabbit hole. And then, the farmer comes along and plows where your rabbit hole was.
What?
Part of my new,
so Warner Brothers
millennial
joint
wave electro genre of music. And in the meantime, I'm working on my next, future synth Roland wave, banger.
With bunnies getting plowed.
But it is a blessing and a curse at the same time, just because it seems like it's been getting kind of overdone. But and the worst thing about it getting overdone is like that introduces inaccuracies all over the place. I mean, it's like going to an industrial night at a club and the only thing you're hearing is techno, or going to a goth night at a club and the only thing you're hearing is not goth music. um like we are really good at assigning labels to things, but really bad at choosing the labels that need to be assigned. And I think that, kind of simplifying that would go a long ways.
So yes, labels and hashtags are important.
They kind of are, but like I use hashtags, on Bandcamp all the time, and generally speaking, it works. Like it feels like it helps.
Mm,
I've had some income from over there, and it means that people are listening.
mm.
I can send something up to my service, and I'll get 300 views on the first day for sure. And I think that the reasonably good like having a couple of hashtags definitely makes a difference. At the same time, I try not to overdo it because that just makes me look pretentious.
But pretentious is good. I say be pretentious. Yeah. Thank you, Ivan. Rob?
Shout out to D or Baphomet Prime, who's a DJ and has been playing some of our artists. So BPM, beats per minute, that matters, right? I think beats per minute has probably more relevance in industry than the genre in some cases, or at least a combination of those, because DJs are always seeking music rapidly, and they might use a genre or a list of artists and a beats per minute. Or you might want to build a playlist and have all the same beats per minute. Getting my ass whipped by a personal trainer and training for a marathon, beats per minute matters. So my wife and I are looking for the same BPM to play 2, 3, 4 hours of music all at the same BPM, because that's our running rate and that's our motivator. Same thing for rowing classes. They're always using the same BPM. Same thing for cheerleaders. The cheerleading competitions are all looking for beats per minute because they want to rack and stack mixes of music together for their routine, and it's all got to be the same BPM. So if you want to cross-pollinate your content into, other industries, industrial use, then stick that BPM on there. It really matters. And also your samples. Same thing for your sample libraries. Stick your tags and your BPMs on the samples as well. Obviously, it matters. It makes it easy to use.
That's really, sorry.
No, you're right.
That's great advice. That's really good advice. Because when you do a Spotify, dude, this is just fucking cat o'clock. I'm gonna go. How do I make this everyone's face here? This is totally cataclysmic. I don't know. But when you put it into like Spotify, it'll ask you the mood. Is it chill? Is it motivated? Is etc. So they probably put a lot of thought into those words. Maybe you should start using those words as well. We are such the TUBI club. Now I'm looking at Phoenix.
Fantastic. So, with the beats per minute and all that other stuff, and with the hashtags, I found the reason I get more traffic with it is because it's what people are comfortable with right now. Because someone would rather type in hashtag, even though it is a pound symbol, they'd rather type that in and a description than try to just search, oh, well, I want to look for this on Google or whatnot. So it gives you more, basically, let's see, it gives you more people that would like your music, of usually even the younger generations. And you can reach just the right listeners with it, because it's so easy to type, hashtag synthwave or something, and it helps your profile connect with other profiles, and you get more likes and plays because people like simplicity. People like easier things than harder things. It's how human beings have been for a long time. Why go through all this work when you can just type in hashtag? It also helps certain platforms recommend certain songs that you have. So that's what I have found with my semi-success with it.
Yeah, thank you. This is great. That's great, man. Thank you. I'm really appreciating. There's some great things going on here. I see the resonator.
Real
Oh, give us your wisdom, resonator.
Thanks for that intro. I don't have any wisdom. I have but a question. I'm simple in that way. Phoenix, when you say success and platforms, what are the kind of results, and which platforms are you using these hashtags on, and what are you seeing happen in more general terms, but just like a little slightly more specific, if you could? Same question that I asked Carl.
Okay, I see some. I'm using Spotify, I'm using SoundCloud, I'm using YouTube, and I'm seeing some traffic, but
Cool. No,
it's like about
helpful.
100 people in 2 or 3 months, but that's about it.
Okay.
And I also
it depends on platform a lot. Like, these things make a difference. Like,
well, I also
which place.
use SoundCloud Pro, which is like you have to pay the money every month, but they have a thing where you release a song and you can amplify the song if you pay the money every year, which gets at least 100 plays, and you can like track where your songs are being played, and I'm
Right.
like, oh well, this country really likes my music, I should make more music like that.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's the best
The thing that came to mind when we were talking about this is I'm still stuck on, hashtags that goes in Instagram post. You put it under, as a comment as a response to your comments. That's where hashtags all end up. But
Yeah.
Clearly we've gone beyond that.
I do know that
Instagram,
so
sure. YouTube makes little tokens out of your hashtags, and they actually use it for discoverability in other ways than people searching. And it's good to know that there are platforms that use single word descriptive tokens as some kind of motivation to put music to people. It's good to hear that it feels like it's working, at least, even if we don't have direct comparisons for making those really difficult metrics to suss out, like whether it's actually having a thing, if we can do a split comparison. But who needs it when it feels like it's working? If it's brings a couple people over, brings them over. It's cool. Thank you.
Also, I find that if you got your tabbies, show them off. Thank you, Frank. I want everyone to hear how pissed off you are. Frank and I are cooking a curry later, and Rob's got a tabby. It's really interesting that I find with, oh yeah, guy, that look at that. Gingers are great, aren't they? Dude, Frank, you could have a new friend. You could have a new friend. Look at that monster. Look, Frank, monster. Look at that monster. Frank, look. Look.
Cats don't see televisions and screens. They just don't see them. They don't care. They want to touch them, but not because they're seeing anything.
Yeah, because I want to piss you off.
Yeah.
I find that with YouTube, do the shorts, YouTube shorts, and in the title, they're just hashtags. I won't even say, check out the new Angelspit track. I will just go hashtag da 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 da. And based on today's conversation, it's always bad when you've got a chair that's got wheels on it, because I'm always scared I'm going to run over him. And if I do, he won't let me forget that for a long time. Oh, fuck, I forgot. Yeah, based on today's conversation, I'm going to start implementing the tempo. And also in that pitching that Spotify use, I'm going to use the mood is fierce, whatever that stuff is. And then I might only say one or two: genre, EBM, darkwave, cyberpunk, and then artists. I actually had an artist that said, "Why are you tagging us? Please remove us." Thanks, guys. Did anybody else want to jump in on this, or can I tell you something really fucked that happened this week? Oh, Ivan, is your hand still up? Okay. So I don't know if I told everybody that I was asked to do music for a horror movie. Did I mention this? Yeah, I was so excited because the guy is like, he's a dude and he's known, and he employed me to make a horror movie music that was really, he referred to it as a rabid dog ripping up, a rabid electronic dog ripping up a script. And it's like, yeah, dude, baby, that's what I do. So I created all these sounds on the Blaster Beam and on the Emacs and on the vocoder, and it was all really creepy, and I was really happy about it. I don't want to say what the movie was, um, but and while in the process of it, I'm going, okay, so what is the monster here? Is it evil? What is it? Is it a spirit? Is it a, because if I know what it is in my head, and if I know how it's attacking, then I can actually create sounds to back it up and to emphasize whatever's going on here. Couldn't get a straight answer out of anyone. Look, whatever. So as it turns out, the movie, once it got released, went to #1 on that specific streaming service, which I won't say what it was. And I was warned it wasn't very good. So I thought, okay, I'm going to watch it, and I wonder how much of my music they used. They didn't use any. Not a fucking drop. And I remember, and this part of the reason I asked about labels this morning is that it's like, oh yeah, man, this would be a good thing. You got to get your name on IMDb, and you're going to get your name in the credits. And guess what? Guess what? I didn't get my name on IMDb or the credits, which I'm kind of happy about because it was awful. Brett, therapeutized me now.
Just curious, can since they didn't use your music, can you reuse any of that?
I don't know what the copyright details are, but I can probably pull it apart and use stuff in other areas.
Yeah, if nothing else, you might be able to build a sample library from it.
And all I want is the one. Yeah, actually, there's a good idea. Yeah, thanks, Phoenix. That's what I want to see. So that's your track that we're going to add. We're gonna fucking can this thing because it's been great. Was there any? I came up with the greatest name for a band. This has been. I feel like we solved world problems today. Yeah, fuck yeah, world's problems. All right, we're out of here. I'm gonna do the close down. Diana, get ready to rate MTV TV. You've been watching The Art of Rock. This is every week here on Angelspit's Patreon, Kickstarter. I don't know what the fuck it's called anymore. I don't focus. I'm not listening. I won't clean my room. And we talk about writer's block and all that shit. Every Saturday here. I think it's next week. I can never keep up. I think it is. Made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. Hey, if you want to send me $3 a week, month, I would really appreciate that. But you don't have to because everyone's poor. Go check out May May's new album. It's kickstarting now. It's bloody awesome. Jenna, welcome. We're back here next week. I'm very proud of it. Angelspit's new album is a rabid dog destroying something. I don't know. The Industrial Incisions playlist. Hey guys, if you've got a thing on there, please pimp it because that's the whole point of our collective. Every Wednesday, we are doing amazing crap on Vulture Culture's thing. We talk about synthesizers and stuff, and synthesizers are awesome. Gina, did we talk via Facebook this week? And hey, how's the weather in France? And thank you so much, Raziel, for being amazing in this shit show.
And thank you so much for having us, and thanks to everybody on the panel and in the chat for contributing so much great stuff.
It's
Great
been
to be
amazing. And remember, if you want to do something positive about the United States of America, that's where you can do it and how you can do it. And here's everybody else who bought some amazing music. Go find some new bands. And We're going to rate MTV TV. So if you're watching this somewhere else, this is where we are going now. Boom, MTV TV, right there on Twitch, 24/7, nonstop. And if you've got something, send it to them because they will play it. That's what they do. How's that raid going? No news on the raid? Diana, where's the raid? Where's the raid at Diana? That's my new song. Anna, where's the raid? Where's the raid at Diana? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. That's half of a Midnight Oil album.
We're ready.
Perfect
Rated.
countdown.
All right, bloody rock, and see you next week. We're gonna hang back here and chat. Hold on. We've got to do this in the drunken manner. So if everybody can just look at the screen and scream, ah!